Hi ladies and gents, Pond here with another video for Rise of Empires, Ice and Fire. Today it's another hero guide and we're going to be looking at SX4 hero Skanda. So Skanda is the second of the two SX4 heroes. Of course we're only getting two at a time now at the top level of the game. And he is a footman hero. Let's get straight into his skills. So as you can see, I do have Skanda in my account with two duplicates, and I think I've only need about 80 more fragments to finish his 7th as well. So I've been recruiting a lot on that SX4 banner this season and last season. So skill 1 for him is of course the dictator skill, an extra 23,100 troops. Then on to the second skill, Aura of Restoration. You're not reading this wrong. 50% chance to heal self and front row squad, 247% recovery rate. That is absolutely huge. That's almost I think that's basically 2.5 times more than the best single percentage rate of recovery from other heroes. In terms of real numbers, that is 8,480 troops recovered per row. So nearly 17,000 troops recovered if this activates. For his row and for the front row. So, and if he's already in front row, double the heal. So nearly 500% recovery. So that would be, yeah, nearly 17,000 troops recovered if this activates, if he's on the front row. So it's a massive, massive buff. 50% chance it's going to happen, you know, at least 4 or 5 times a battle really. So you are looking at potentially this skill every battle recovering 80,000 troops. It's better than Windwalker's stackable recovery. It's better than Lawman's healing. Like that's only 96%, I think. You know, it just blasts all other healing skills out of the water basically. Skill 3, of course, is the usual defensive formation skill, giving the extra 50% resistance. Skill 4 is the offensive formation, giving the extra 50% might to the troops in his squad. On to skill 5, alluring arm. It's a combat skill, so not ideal because it can be silenced and suppressed by your opponents. The effective range is 3. Very high chance though, 70% chance to deal 260% damage to the furthest enemy squad within range. So high chance, not a lot of damage, but you've got a pretty good chance of this activating, you know, I'd say 4 to 7 times in a battle, I guess. If, you know, 4 times if you're unlucky, really. And this nice additional element that it will suppress the furthest enemy as well. So this is basically designed to, if you've got Skanda on your front row, then this will target the back row and it'll debuff them so that they can't attack. Now, obviously, if you're up against a cavalry unit that has got avalanche in it, well, she is immune because of her clarity, so it wouldn't work. But if you're pretty much up against anyone else, then it's going to give you a fighting chance. And the fact that this is activating a high amount of the time, if you have Skanda on your front row, you could potentially be suppressing your opponent's killer hero for half the battle or more. So that can have a massive, massive impact. And when you combine that with the fact that skill 2 is healing a lot of troops, then, you know, you've got a really nice combination of things going on there. Let's go on though. Skill 6, or as usual, the awakened skill. So Skanda is, of course, defensively minded, so you're getting an extra 15% resistance and then 15% HP. HP really key to your troop there. Survival chances, the more HP they have, the more damage they can take. 250% bonus to the leadership skill on skill 1, the dictatorship skill. And in combination, as we've seen many times before, because Skanda is purely defensively minded, you've got this extra 40% resistance for all 3 squads in his legion. Skill 8, Daybreak. It's a prep skill, so nicer. It's harder to counter this one. Effective range is 2, and the reason for that is it's buffing your own troops. So on turn 5, it's going to remove friendly front row debuffs. So anything that your front row is being affected by, it's going to remove those debuffs. And when the front row takes damage, effectively, it should be when it's attacked. It's not really, the wording's not correct really. when it takes damage, 100% chance to dodge and be immune to this damage lasting 2 turns. So this skill effectively means that your front row on turns 5 and 6 are going to be protected from all attacks. So that is going to really make a big difference. Often you'll see in battles, you know, front rows are collapsing by turn 6. For having Skanda in your legion, if he's going to be basically protecting that front row. And if you've got the recovery coming as well, that front row could, say if it's only got 17,000 troops in it, well, you might actually recover another 17,000 troops with the Aura of Restoration, and it's completely protected from any damage. So you could actually be in a better position once you go into turn 7 than you were at the start of turn 5. So it really makes a nice combination of skills. Skanda, I think, is an excellent hero. Let's go and have a look at him in a battle. Even though I do have him, I really like a video that I've seen from Heroes Duel at the weekend. We were up against State 48 last week. This week we've got 58, and 2 players from my alliance, Keeney and Rocky, made the final. And Rocky does have a Skanda. He's got one of the top Footmen combinations right now, Bleeding, Skanda and Desert Storm, and he was up against Keeney's Warlord Roku Living Saint combination. So we're going to have a look at this in a second. You can see that Bleeding is maxed. He's got the same as me, just that Skanda doesn't have that 7th skill awakened, and he's got a maxed Desert Storm, so you've got a nice combination going on, and 12 skills activated in the battle for Skanda. So again, this is pretty much, you know, full disclosure, this is pretty much best case scenario for Skanda right now. So we've just got the pre-battle status and prep skills activating for the various heroes. Now, the other thing to remember about this combination with Bleeding, Skanda and Desert Storm is that all 3 of these Footman heroes have healing skills. So this is the combination that's going to give you the most healing. So there we go, Bleeding there, he was doing 1100 healing. Now you do have silencing here, so that is going to have an impact. But it's, you know, usually cavalry absolutely tear into Footman legions most of the time these days. So it's you know, and this is one of the better combinations, Warlord Roku Living Saint, but it's not a top combination now that we're into, you know, all the way through it. We're in up to SX5 heroes now, so we're not getting a lot happening from Skanda initially in the battle, and you are seeing a lot of damage to your troops as well. Like that front row's already lost 38,000. Now we're getting Aurora of Restoration, and you can see that middle row took the hit because Rocky's got Skanda in his middle row, and he's silenced Roku. Now that's going to have a big knock-on effect, because that means Roku can't do his own silencing effect. So if you click on that, you'll see, sorry, suppressed him. So no basic attack, no skill attack from Roku on that middle row. There we go, he was suppressed. The only danger, of course, is that you are still, if you have Skanda on your middle row, you are getting all of the damage from your opponent's killer hero. But sometimes, there we go, another Aurora Restoration. There we go, 8,480 boost to both the middle and to the front and middle rows there on your squad. So that was 3 turns, and the restoration has activated twice. So that's pretty, bearing in mind it's 50%, you've got a good start there. Let's speed this up a little bit, just for turn 4. Same again, both skills activating, hitting Roku with damage and suppressing him again, so you're not going to get anything out of Roku. He did have a prep skill activating, which he's not going to be able to get off now. And now we're into turn 5. So the only thing is, what you've got to think about is that if your combat speed is slower, then you're going to be going first, if that makes sense. So, sorry, you're going to be going second. So if you're up against Footmen, you've got a chance to be going first. So there we go. Daybreak activates, which is this buff on the first on turn 5. So you're getting healing there from Desert Storm's healing skill as well. Now as we go into turn 6, you're going to see, here we go, this front row is just dodging all of this damage. Living Saint's skill even targeted the front row. Again, just it's dodging it. You're getting a luring arm again, so that's going to be Roku suppressed on turn 7. You're getting healing, even though you didn't get healing from Skanda on this turn, you got healing from Desert Storm again. And Desert Storm's skill 2 effects are having an impact on your opponents all the time. We see again this front row dodging the attacks. Only got an attack from the front row Warlord because Roku was suppressed, and then Living Saint just disarms her troops because of her skills. Aurora Restoration again, suppressing Roku again. So you know this is you can see now, and more healing again. Look at the troop counts. Look at the difference. Near 90,000 on the front row for a Footman Legion in an 8th round against cavalry. That is crazy. And Skanda's row is actually nearly completely repaired, which is just insane. Now you can see actually the opponent is attacking themselves there, and that's the confusion skill from Bleeding Steed's 5th skill. He must have got that off. So they're actually doing damage to themselves. One last alluring arm from Skanda there as well, and then we've got more healing. And that's it. And you can see the difference, for instance, so the bearing in mind, the cavalry have got a higher damage factor, right, to them than Footmen. That cavalry front row Warlord, 60,000 troops. This Footman Legion with Skanda in it, nearly 82,000 troops. Middle row on the cabs, 65,000. Middle row on your Footmen, look at this, nearly 107,000 troops. You basically, because you had so much healing going on, you hardly lost any troops on that middle row. Yeah, about 106,000 troops. There we go. Actually, 106,000 troops healed in the battle. So you know that almost half of the damage done by the opponent was healed. That's such a big impact, and that is really, again, best case scenario. You know, 12 skills activating. That's a pretty good. That's a pretty good outcome in any battle, if I'm honest with you. Let's just go back into Skanda. So, I think the real decision you've got to make with Skanda is what row you're going to put him in. Like, he's so versatile. That is the, for me, that's the biggest plus about him. This healing skill works with anyone at the end of the day, and the only downside is that it's a combat skill, so it can be silenced and suppressed. The 5th skill, again, downside is that it's a combat skill, but it's very high chance. It's doing damage and suppressing one of your opponent's lines. As you saw, the issues it caused the opponent's Roku. Roku did hardly anything in that battle, even when you consider that he was paired with Warlord, who is basically trying to guarantee that 8th skill on turns 1, 3, 5, and 7. He hardly did anything in the battle because he was getting suppressed so much by the 5th skill. Then you've got that guaranteed buff at the middle of the in the battle from the Daybreak skill, and you could see the impact that had on turns 5 and 6. That front row was just not taking any damage, and it still ended up with 80,000 troops at the end of the battle, which is really high troop count for an 8-round battle against cavalry for footmen. And again, I'm not saying this is going to happen every time, but this is what can happen. And Skanda is an incredibly flexible hero. Let's talk about which heroes he's going to work with. So right now, for those of us in Eden with the top level SX5 heroes, we've just actually been able to pick up Liberator in the last 7 days. Liberator is definitely, he's a front row hero, and that kind of then definitely pushes Skanda back to the middle row. But if you've got, so Liberator, Skanda, and then Valkyrie are currently the top combination. You can also use Liberator, Skanda, and Bleeding Steed if you want a really defensive combination on your footmen. What we saw in the video, Bleeding Steed, Skanda, and then Desert Storm is probably the 3rd top combination. Then you could use pretty much any front row. You can use Datch, you can use Dragon's Avatar, put Skanda on the middle, and then put any of the back row heroes there. Like whether it's if you want offense, you can have Desert Storm, Jade Rakshasa, or Iron Hands. If you want defense, you just put Bleeding Steed on the back row there, and have a different defensive hero on the front. So Skanda is incredibly versatile in that regard. And if you obviously did have to put him on the, say if you did put Skanda on the front row, then you're because you don't have Liberator, then you're getting a huge amount of healing from these skills. So yeah, for me he's one of the best. Yeah, for me he's definitely a top 10 hero in the game. That's how good he is. And for the skills, I unlocked skill 6 first, just because that meant I could get him either on my front row or in the middle row on my Footmen Legion. So I did do for him skill 6 first, then skill 8, and then skill 7, because there's a high chance that you could be putting Skanda on your front row. So that would be the order that I unlock his skills. There we go, guys. That is everything for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, why not click on that like? And if this is one of the first videos you're watching on my channel and you haven't already, it would be great if you could click on that subscribe and ring the bell so you get notifications whenever I'm dropping videos on the channel, which is daily. And if you could please share my channel in your Alliance chat, Province chat, and for those of you in Eden on those guild chats and through your guild province chat, that would be absolutely brilliant. And if you use Line, WhatsApp, Viber, Discord to communicate with your fellow players, then a share in there would be really nice as well. That's it for now, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon.